and let's just kind of chat for a few minutes and we'll actually get the show started. Welcome, fellas. Hang on 1 minute. It's good to see everybody. Hang on one sec. Let's move. Now, why am I hearing myself? There we go. Welcome to the show, fellas. Good to see you guys. This is a new test show. We did a test of this the other day on Gavin and Games. I think it went well. This is more of a proper test for a show I'm currently calling either Gamers Soapbox, Digital Soapbox, Soapbox Geeky. I don't fucking know. We'll figure out what we're going to call it. But it is a test show that would alternate with some of the other morning shows because I still want to be streaming twice a day. But, you know, the Jeff stream in the morning isn't for everyone. And sometimes people get a little, they don't want to kind of talk politics or they don't want to talk UFOs. They want to talk games. So this just kind of lets us have a couple of options to cycle through depending on sort of where the audience is. So let me get the ticker off real quick. Hide it. There we go. And let me get my fucking name off so we can see the chat. I'm trying to do this now in a better system, and so hopefully it'll work for people calling in. If you're watching on the YouTube, that is where the pinned at the top, it'll tell you what to click to call in. If you're watching on Twitch or Twitter or whatever, let me know and I will put it up on the thing on the chat for you. Almost ready to start though, fellas. I don't have a song today, so this kind of makes up for the letting people load in. Plus I'm also, you know, even though I've been doing a lot of streaming and video and all that stuff the last couple days, I took the last couple days and just fucked around, which I really enjoyed and I really needed. But I'm kind of, you know how it is, you take a little time off, just even a tiny bit, and you end up, kind of out of things. So, all right. And I'm also trying to get the chat there on the work, on the left, so you guys can see it. It looks okay. Not great. It'll get better if we like the show, but anyway, that's the idea. So what is this show? And I'm sorry, the bit rate is low, Luca. Hopefully you can still hear it. But we'll see what we can do next time. I'm not on OBS. OBS may be the better way to do this. There's a lot more control we have, but we'll see. But Lucas says, yeah, you basically join a call to discuss the highlighted question, right? We have 3 questions per show. The first question coming up is all about what your biggest disappointments were of 2024 as it relates to video games. The second question you'll see in the about this video below is about you get $500 million for a budget. For a single player game, you can pitch it's a 1-sentence pitch, and it's for a single player game, and it would be who's the developer, what's the pitch for 1 sentence, and then afterwards you go away until the game is done. And who would you pick, and what would your game be that you would want them to make for $500,000? And then the first part of the question is, if you're doing it just for money, what would it be? And if you're doing it for art, what would it be? And the last question is, would you prefer most single player games go 4 to 5 hours and $20? Why or why not? So that's the idea. But again, it's really weird. It is so strange to me, before we get started, it is so strange to me that it has been only 2 days since I have live streamed, but here's what I was doing. You know, we had Christmas, of course. I hope your Christmas was great. We did a really fun, I think, Christmas special on Christmas Eve. That was fun. And then, so we had Christmas, we ate, we watched movies, we hung out. And then yesterday, we took a long walk, went to the bookstore. I came back and watched that movie, Carry On Netflix, that, you know, people are having different thoughts on, of course. But I really liked it. But it's just, the bigger point is it's the first time I've really had that kind of a little bit of a mental vacation. And I was just like, oh, it was so nice. So now I'm really struggling, even though I love being back. It's really weird getting kind of back into the swing of things. So, all right, but let's just get started. Let's see if people like this show. One moment. Should I get rid of the chat on the left? Again, this is a pilot. Help me out, fellas. It may not be, I don't have it all set up perfectly. First, let me get rid of the snow on the left. That'll help. But You can't really see your chat anyway, right? I mean, are you able to read it? Should I leave it there, or is it kind of a pain in the ass? What do you think? Let me know and I'll make that call. And then I already see Mikey. We have Mikey in. We'll bring him in a second. Yeah, you can't read it. Yeah, I don't blame you. I'm gonna take the chat away and I'll fix it later. I'll fix it on the next episode. Hang on, let me just get rid of that. It's real messy. No, keep that. Get rid of that. All right, that'll be better for us for today. Okay. How did your holidays go, Arathizzle? You got PSVR 2. Holy crap, it's well made. Yeah, I hear. I absolutely hear it's a great system. My holidays went great. A lot of fun. I actually was so close yesterday because I read an article on the MetaQuest 3. And even though most of my VR, I use it every now and then for working out, believe it or not, but most of it collects dust after a couple of months. But I will say that I like the pass through on the MetaQuest 3, especially that the resolution's high enough now that apparently you can work with it. Like you can see your key. So I could video edit, have all my screens, have the pass through. And I'm like, okay, that's what I've been waiting on. And apparently it's pretty effective in that way. So, all right, let us begin. Let me go through the first question. I will give you the question. I will give you my response, and then I will go to the chat. I don't know if Mikey's calling for a different reason, but Mikey, I'll bring you on first. He's in the waiting room. If you want to call in like your good friend Mikey did, you can do so. The link is at the top of the YouTube. I'll also put it right here on the stream right now. In the here you go. Copy there. Whoops, there is the link right there for you. Okay. Question number 1 is what were your biggest gaming disappointments of the year? As 2024 comes to a close, looking back, what is it that you kind of wished would have happened or you were excited about and it then turned out didn't quite go the way you had planned? I'll tell you my 3. I have 3 big disappointments. The first is the Xbox Game Pass advertising messaging. This is the year that we were supposed, I mean, people who love Game Pass and people who do believe in Phil Spencer's vision, aka me, and maybe I'm the only one left. This was the year they finally got everything lined up. They had a bunch of great games towards the end of the year, from Stalker to Call of Duty to Indiana Jones. If you're into Microsoft Flight Sim, fine. The Starfield DLC is okay, but whatever. And then Avowed is coming. South of Midnight looks good. Doom is coming next year. They're starting to basically crank at a cadence at an equality that says, okay, now we can see if the vision works. And lo and behold, par for the course with these jackasses at Microsoft, the minute they do that is the minute they go, you know what we'll do? Let's put all of our stuff on the competition. And you know what we'll do? It wasn't one thing that we were going to put it on the competition. We were going to make it really clear in advertising that, yeah, you can pay $70 for indie, 70 for Stalker, 70 for Call of Duty, blah, blah, blah. Or you can get it all free for Game Pass. They dropped the ball on that. There was barely any advertising for Game Pass. They had a muddled fucking message when it comes to why would I even buy hardware anymore from Microsoft? It makes no sense what they're doing. I don't know if they don't have all of their people talking or if they really are trying to sort of steer the Titanic quickly. And it's like, dude, it's going to take a while to reorient the ship. We just got to start. It's going to be confusing for people. I don't know what they're doing over there. It's a nightmare for consumers. I don't know what they want from customers anymore, but this was the year. If they would have played it the way they had been playing it and they would have done advertising, these sons of bitches could have actually proven or not for once and for all whether Game Pass was viable. And now we are right back, we'll see. We'll just have to fucking see. So that's my number 1 disappointment of 2024 as it relates to gaming. Number 2, even though it hasn't affected me yet, my favorite console of the year, and I know it sounds goofy, but that's how I look at it. The place I'm playing most this 2024 is on Geforce Now. I will play anything and everything I can if it's on Geforce Now above any and everything else. That's how good it works for me. And it allows me to not download. I don't have to update. I can turn everything up to 11 in terms of visual fidelity. It's been a wonderful experience. And lo and behold, fine. And I'm telling people about it. Other people are telling people about it. People are starting to play it. People are saying, hey, it's not as bad as I thought, or it's really good. Hey, let's put time caps, right? So if you have the highest version, which is what I do, I pay $20 a month for it. They said, and thank God I'm already part of it, so it won't hit me until next year, 2026. But if you got it today, you will now in January have to start after 100 hours. You're capped. You're done. And I don't know if they're going to ask for more money or if they're just going to say, nope, you've reached your bandwidth for the month. You got to wait. I mean, I don't understand who basically is playing the fucking game like that. I spend well more than 100 hours playing games during a month. The idea that they're going to cap it for me next year and for new players, they're just going to fucking, I mean, again, there must be a reason. I don't think it's just like we're super fucking greedy. If it was just greed, they just raise the price and I would pay it reluctantly, but I would pay it. If they said, oh, okay, now it's $30 instead of 20. Okay, I'll pay it. I hate it, but I'll pay it. So this is probably not just greed. It's probably bandwidth in terms of the company's bandwidth or maybe literal bandwidth. I don't know, but I don't like it. I'm bummed about it, but I'm sure competition will rise up to compete and force them to maybe walk that back, or someone else will come along and do what they were doing wonderfully for so long. But 100 hours, go fuck yourself. Finally, and this is minor for a lot of people, but Nintendo, my last disappointment, big disappointment. I know it's going to sound minor, but I'm telling you, I almost quit the game, and it's one of my favorite games of the year. Nintendo is one of my favorite design groups. I love them. They are smart. They understand the medium better than any other people working, as far as I can tell out there. And they put out a new game this year called Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. I think that's what it's called. Great game. Love it. Very clever, interesting design. And it's almost like it's the first time I've ever seen them. It's almost like they didn't test the game, because there's a puzzle in the game, and I won't spoil it for you, but the way it works is there's a map and there's a flashing dot on the map depending on the quest you're going after. It's very typical, right? So if it's like, oh, there's 6 active quests, I'm on this quest, there'll be a flashing dot at the bottom left of the map. Okay, great. Well, somewhere either in the translation or just in the lack of design quality oversight or QA, I don't know, one of their puzzles tells you it's at the bottom left of the map. And I almost quit the game. I must have spent about collectively 20 hours just looking everywhere, trying to figure all of it out. And finally, I'm just like, I hate getting hints. I asked ChatGPT for a hint, and it was vague, but it wasn't very good. So finally, I'm like, fuck it. Let me go to YouTube and see how to do it. And the reason I couldn't solve it is because the flashing dot was in the fucking wrong place. The flashing dot should have been on the far right corner bottom of the goddamn map. And so I'm still playing it because I realized, okay, well, that wasn't me not having an aha moment, or that wasn't a stupid puzzle. That was just a bug. I've never seen Nintendo do that. I know it sounds crazy. It's like, dude, it's terrible, but it's just a bug. I've never, ever, ever seen that kind of, like, you don't expect that from them. It's like kind of going to Disneyland, where usually you can expect the people who run the rides and work there to be clean and kind. And even if, they hate you, they're still playing the character of a worker at Disneyland. And that's what you can expect from Nintendo. But then there's the difference when you go to the state fair and it's the guy running the ride who's like, on his phone, doesn't give a shit. You might die. He doesn't know. He doesn't care. He didn't check your seatbelt when you get on the roller coaster. That's what a lot of game companies are like. And that's what Nintendo was like with this game for the first time I've ever seen him do it. So that to me was the third disappointment. So those are my disappointments. Xbox advertising, Game Pass, GeForce Now cap, and Nintendo dropping the ball on Zelda Echoes of Wisdom with a specific puzzle that almost made me rage quit. Let's see if Mikey has anything to say on this. I don't know what he wants. Let's find out. Mikey, it's Jaffe. What's going on? Mikey, you're on the show. All right, well, jump in if you want. In the meantime, let me take a look at the chat and the text chat. So we've got Dan Hefferon says, for me, Dragon's Dogma 2 was the biggest disappointment, but I may come back to it. Maybe I just don't understand the class system. I just didn't enjoy the gameplay at all. It's interesting. What I will tell you about that is that game, and I don't even know, because I played it, I liked it a lot, and I didn't finish it, but what I found confusing about that game was that it is the top 10 best-selling game of the year. And I'm like, Dragon's Dogma 2, like it came, it went, it got some great reviews. Some people talked about it for about 3 weeks, and then I didn't hear anything else. You're saying you didn't understand the class system. I'm trying to remember. I know they have the pawn system. I don't think that's what you mean, right? My biggest issue with that game was just the dialogue that these people had, the characters, the NPCs had, were constantly the same thing. And it's like, dude, even when the characters change, the pawns change, they don't match the way they look. They have like 20 things they say. It gets very dull very quick. You think that would have been a real crucial thing? Maybe they've done an update or something. But I enjoyed what I played. Maybe I'll go back to it too. Mikey, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you great. What is your what do you want to talk about? Right now we're talking about the biggest disappointments of 2024. You have any you want to share?
Well, yeah, and not to beat a dead horse,
Okay.
but for me it really was Concord.
Okay.
I did the first week's like test beta, and you could see the vision, right? Like
Yes.
you could
Yes.
feel the gameplay of that game, and it was really well done for the most part. Like the gunplay was well done, and I really liked the level design of, at least it's the one I artistically like it's the like it's really not there.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk too much shit, but you know, everyone's had their piece on like the art design, but like from a level perspective, I thought that level was really fun. Um, I just didn't like the heroes themselves were very lackluster in terms of like their abilities, and then just they did a really bad job of conveying the like the hero system team thing. I went through like every menu. I was really trying to figure out like, okay, what is this supposed to be? And it just wasn't there. So it's kind of a bummer to see. And it's strange that Sony has simultaneously had one of the best, well, I guess you can call it a live service game with Helldivers 2, and then like at the same time like the worst, and it's kind of impressive.
Well, it makes you wonder, unlike their narrative and their single player games, it makes you kind of go, maybe they just don't, understandably, don't have the experience in multiplayer games at Sony anymore, other than say sports with MLB, really, that they're able to sort of like, I imagine if somebody were to say, I'm making a single player narrative third person game within the halls of Sony, they have so much success in that realm that they can look at someone's alpha or pre-alpha and go, this is not cutting it, or this is amazing.
Oh, 100%.
But I think with multiplayer, maybe they were just like, we think it's good. And to be fair to Concord, I mean, I played both betas. I think there were 2 betas. And I enjoyed it for what it was as well. I thought the gunplay, a lot of people are sort of looking at it, I think, it's really unfortunate. Like, you can criticize, as I think it should be criticized, the conceptual design, the visual design, the character design. But I think the gameplay, I don't think the levels were great, but I think the gunplay was really good and really solid, and it was really fun to move the characters around. I had this one character, I forget who she was, but she was the fire character, and she had this great move where you could like double jump and then slam into the ground and shit. Like, I mean,
She was. I think she was like the only character that was like really really fun.
Yeah, and there
Mechanic.
were a lot of things that, like, I think it was forget what his name, what he calls himself, but one of the guys did a review of it who comes on the channel sometimes, and Kirkland Gray, and he was kind of, he had to explain a whole system to me about, like, you could stack character-based abilities that weren't like button abilities, but just sort of things that were sort of, if you pick this character, she runs faster, but then if you pick another character, you can stack that on the other character. Like there was a lot of systems at play in that game that I think they didn't really explain very well. I mean, were you even aware of that kind of thing?
No, that I had no idea that existed. And I did try to spend, I think it was like, yeah, that first day, just like in the menus, because there was supposed to be, I thought there was like supposed to be like some kind of like, hey, here's an info dump on like what the game is, and I was trying to read up like maybe there's like an ability menu sheet, or what is this team thing supposed to be, and I couldn't really find any information. It was a lot of just trial and error in the game. And I feel like that really hindered their ability to kind of show off how they were unique. Because if I knew about the stacked ability thing, I would have tried to experiment with that.
Yeah, I mean, I might be explaining it a little wrong, but the gist was, though, a lot of people complained like, oh, the characters are kind of slow. And
Was
so
it
what
supposed to be like the rivals thing? Because I think like with rivals, with certain heroes, if you have like certain heroes together in a map,
it's a
like,
little different. Like in Rivals, like you can be Rocket Raccoon and he's your buddy if you can team up with him, and then he'll give you a special sort of team up move. But this was more like, if I remember it correctly, it's like, let's say you pick a character that has a really fast run speed, and then you pick another character. If you do it right, her passive will now latch on to your new character. So even a slow, tanky character suddenly had an increase in speed because you had just previously played a certain way, a faster character. But the other thing I think, I mean, so obviously there was the price point for the game, which was, I think, they got lucky with Helldivers 2. They didn't get lucky with this. Who knows why?
I kind of want to push back on that, because a lot of people say like if this was free to play, it would have done well. I really don't think that would have saved it, because like you had 2 weekends where it was basically free to play, and I think like and the reason I got into the first weekend, I never pre-ordered the game. I think the first weekend was supposed to be a pre-order only, like, and then they were like, "Ooh, no one's here. Let's just open it up to everybody," and that's how I got in.
Yep, me too.
The second week I kind of fell off, and it wasn't necessarily because part of it was because the game wasn't all there, but it was like I got busy and whatever. But I really don't think that if this game launched free to play, you probably would have seen the same narratives. You would have seen the same problems.
Here's what I think, though. If the problem is at $40 when you partner that with the kind of anti-woke brigade that came after the game, rightly or wrongly so, depending on who you are, it becomes easier to just go, okay, well, it's $40 and clearly the internet hates it. It's not even on my radar. But if it had been free, people would have probably been more like, okay, I've hearing a lot about it. Fuck it, let me try it. And maybe, but that's hindsight 2020 stuff. I mean, I don't, but a bigger issue to me was, I think it was over designed. I think Marvel Rivals might have the same problem. Like Marvel Rivals, Anthony Wright in the chat says Marvel Rivals isn't any better. I mean, I don't happen to like hero shooters where I have to escort something. Right. So
my problem with Rivals is it's too much like Overwatch, in that like Sony does do this fantastic thing in both cases, where they somehow manage to fail but also introduce some really cool ways of approaching certain things. So like that PlayStation All-Star game, like way back when on the PS3, that was kind of like a Smash clone.
Yep.
It, to me, I thought that was like inherently unique. The combat system was actually kind of well balanced, and like they had like, I think like one of the, like a few people that worked on Street Fighter on it or whatever.
They sure did.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, yeah, no, there's something here, but you fall short with the lack of like solid IP. There was like just, it's not fun to really play. Like, I don't even know her name, the girl from like Heavenly Sword, and then Big Daddy's cool, but it's like, I want to play, like, give me Kratos. Let me have Kratos fight, Crash Bandicoot. Give me, like,
Crash wasn't there, but Kratos was.
Yeah.
But here's what I think, though, and I think I would love to see Marvel Rivals take care of this too. And I think Marvel Rivals has a mode. But the thing is, most people just want to play team deathmatch. As a designer, I hate that. I hate that, but it's just fucking true. And so if you want to give me the Marvel characters or the Concord characters, and I get that they had that mode, but you can't control when that mode comes up. You're pretty much like in a rotation, and it because and it splits the user base. So it's just like, that's another thing with Concord. And I think Rivals as well. I just want to beat the shit out of other superheroes with my friends or enemies or whatever. I'm not looking to, but did you know if you synergize these three? It's like, okay, that's for MLG people competing, for the July 4th Cup or something. I don't give a shit about that though. I just want to have a good time. I think Concord and Rivals suffered because it wants you to play it a certain way. And I'm just like, I don't want to play it like that. I don't want to play smart. I just want to have a good time, So, but I hear you, and it's certainly not my top 3 disappointment, but I get it, and I appreciate the call. Thanks, Mikey.
Yeah, sure.
All right, man. Talk to you soon. All right. Morgan says, Jaffe, did you see my disappointments? Wukong, Stellar Blade, Rise of Ronin, all clear action inspiration, but they could have just been deep action games. Bring back action. Morgan, I don't understand. They're all clear action games, but they could have been deep action. I do not understand what you're saying. Movie Maniac drops super chat. Thank you, buddy. He says, I got my friend Star Wars Outlaws for Christmas. If he doesn't like it, you have to spend 5 minutes in the closet with Pete Turtle. I didn't make the rules. Yeah, you did, you son of a bitch. But I'll tell you what, I would be stunned if he doesn't like it. It's a great fucking video game, man. I love it. It's one of my favorite. It'll be in my top 10 of the year, man. All right, let me bring on Plazukas real fast. Let's see what he has to say. Plazukas, is Jaffe. What's going on?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh, by the way, Horatio, thank you, buddy. He's been a member for 35 months. Happy holidays from Romania. Hope everyone's having a great time. Absolutely. You as well, sir. Have a great holiday season. Thank you for the support. Plazukas, what are your disappointments in gaming of 2024?
So my biggest disappointment for 2024 is 2 things. First is people thinking that this year wasn't a great year for video games.
Yeah, they're idiots.
Regardless of your platform, whether it be Sony, Microsoft, PC, there's been so many great games with variety and just AAA and also just indie level design philosophies that I think this was better than last year, even though some people consider last year one of the best years of video games. I had a great time this year with video games.
I did as well. Why do you think that's the narrative? I always think it's because a lot of people just don't play a lot of things. So if they were excited, even though I loved Star Wars Outlaws and I really enjoyed Dragon Age, I can see how people would say that if those were the 2 games they were looking forward to and they felt like a lot of people, which is they weren't great games. But short of that, why do you think that narrative has taken hold? If you
I think Sony has gotten a lot of hate this year, so I think that's part of it. I think they're just hating on the fact that Sony had third-party, second-party exclusives. But I also think it's the rhetoric, and this leads it to my second most disappointing thing this year is the pile-on of these downvoting YouTube videos and just the negative perception of video games right from the get-go. Whenever something is released now, there's this instant feedback loop that exists, and obviously it's there for profit. It's there for these people to make money and to get engagement. And it just brings down the entire industry because there is, it's fine to critique games. Like that has been a part of entertainment since the dawn of art. But it's different when you're doing it for, vindictive, for greedy, or for agenda driven reasons. And yes, it can happen on the woke side of it as well. There are just people piling on to incentivize their own agenda as well. But at the same time, I'm just so discouraged by that whole rhetoric.
Yeah, I mean, I did a video that got a lot of people upset with me where I said, do I, where I blamed some of the grifters for causing some of the games not to sell as well. And I wasn't saying that was the main thing, but I was like, yeah, there's a lot of people that will jump onto something negative and they will play that up in YouTube and they will make money from it. And that's fine, but it does affect sometimes the sales. And I think that's unfortunate, but you're saying it also just affects the general mood of gamers out there, correct?
Yeah, I think overall, just people are down. People that know, like obviously the mainstream or the casual, they don't give a crap. They don't put add-ons on their YouTube videos to see the downvotes. They watch something and whether or not they like it or not, they don't really talk about it. They may not buy it because they may not like it, but at the same time,
Right.
they're not part of this. But the people that are, the people that talk about this, the people that are in this echo chamber, just bring the whole thing down. And they feel like, that it's their job to say that, video games were not that great this year, and partly because of games like Star Wars Outlaws or Dragon Age Veilguard, where they were disappointed because of the, whatever the agenda that they want to perceive to be. So I just think it's the whole
Do
mood
you think
of it
do
all.
you think there's a solve in 2025 for that, right? I mean, I know there are YouTubers out there that tend to go positive, right? But they obviously don't get the clicks as much. They don't control the narrative as much. So I don't think just going, oh, be a YouTuber that points out the great stuff, because that it just, it's easier and it's more fun to look at the trolls and engage with the trolls. And it's
Yeah, I think my greatest hope, obviously, I don't want to get political, but my greatest hope for gaming specifically is that we have these grifters talk about GTA 6 because of potentially it could be woke because of not going all in on trans or LGBTQ, or just trying to like make them all like you're usually with GTA, they kind of just make fun of everything, and there was an article by the guy from the Bloomberg, who basically suggested that they're not going to do as much of that. Hopefully,
oh
all
yeah,
these
yeah.
grifters get on the GTA 6 train and grift and grift and grift and grift, and then when it comes out, those people look really bad to where they stop getting people to watch them, and then we can finally move on with this and go into 2026 with a new attitude. And I'm not going to get political, but you can obviously see where this
I mean,
conversation would go.
yeah, I mean, in the chat right now, Turtle Rabbit Fox says giving YouTubers too much credit. I'm sorry, I don't agree. Do I think EA did more damage to Dragon Age Veilguard because they thematically shifted from sort of a Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, darker thematic to something more like a CW show? Yeah, I certainly would say the blame to EA is substantially larger than the blame to YouTubers. But once the YouTubers do get their mitts on it, it does become, I mean, they are more powerful than a TV commercial now. And
And
that's
but they've
and
increasingly
that's
become
and
more
that and
powerful month
that's
in
hang
month
on,
in
hang on, hang
month
on, hang on.
out.
And that, yeah, and that's not saying that that's good, bad, or otherwise. I think, influencers are, they get paid, the big ones, a lot of money because they are looked at now as more valuable than advertising. So while I would agree with Turtle Rabbit that that's certainly not the number one reason a game sinks or swims, to suggest that the YouTubers are not a meaningful piece of the puzzle just doesn't line up with reality. All you have to do is look at what some of these big guys get paid to shill a specific game, and you'll recognize very, very quickly that that statement is not true. All
Yeah,
right,
and the
folks.
downvotes on Intergalactic. Just one last thing: the downvotes on Intergalactic Heretic Prophet are not organic. That is orchestrated. That is a fabricated movement by the grifters, which does affect the overall perception of that game, and it's
Yeah,
becoming increasingly worse and worse every single day. So maybe EA is more responsible, but I see the trend, and I've seen the trend that YouTubers and people that are content creators and social media influencers are actually affecting these sales. And
yeah.
if that does not stop, it's only going to affect the video game industry even more in the future. And I
Well,
hope that
because I
it,
think, well, hang on. I think what they'll tell you is it's like, okay, so let's say this is them talking. Okay, let's say Plazukas and Jaffe are right, and we affect it. All we're doing is delivering a message, and if the audience happens to agree with it and they don't buy the game, that's how it's supposed to work. But I would argue though that unfortunately, what it really does is it cuts a product off before people even sample it. And so it's not so much that it's a real call out on the good, bad, or ugly of the game. It's just that particular influencer saying, For whatever reason, I said this, and it's part of the entertainment. It's part of the fun. It's part of the cult aspect of it that, ooh, I want to go over there and downvote it. Now I did what this guy told me to do. Clearly wanted me to do or whatever. And so I do agree with you that it's not just a simple supply and demand. And they're just, hey, don't blame the messenger. We're just telling you what we think. I don't think they're doing anything wrong, but I do agree that the effect that it's having is disproportionate as it relates to if the title is good or bad.
I agree with you.
People. So, all
Thanks
right,
for taking the call.
Talk to you soon, bud. Morgan means she means the heavier Souls games with action light. She wishes they would just be. Oh, I do too. I mean, that's why when I do eventually get around to playing more than just a demo of Stellar Blade, I'm going to play. I'm going to play it on easy mode because I just don't have the interest in every fucking thing being. I have to approach everything carefully. It's like, can I just go, maybe that's one of the reasons I like Dragon Age, because I just like to be able to go in there and beat the shit out of things and not really have to think too much in some ways. Okay. Let's bring in Gary Turbo of the Cincinnati Turbos. Turbo, it's Jaffe. What's going on? What were your 3 or 1 or 2 biggest disappointments in gaming of 2024?
I got 3.
All right, go.
One is basically their little Marvel Rivals little model. I just don't like the free to play at all.
Well, hang on, talk about that. Well, in general, or Marvel Rivals free to play model, how as it relates to how they're doing it?
Just in general, because like they're copying the model that pretty much killed Overwatch.
With the Battle Pass model? What do you mean?
The whole monetization model. Because a lot of people
go ahead.
A lot of people were happy about the free to play because they can play for free. But the problem is, in order for video games to succeed, they gotta make money.
Sure.
I mean, that's for anything to succeed, they gotta make money. And a lot of gamers don't realize that because many of them.
Right, but hang on. I just want to be clear, though. I mean, there are plenty of free-to-play games that are no longer doing pay for power that are doing really, really, really well by doing the Battle Pass system. I mean, Fortnite is not pay to win. Marvel Snap for the most part, or Hearthstone for the most part, is not pay to win. Although they don't have a Battle Pass, but Rivals.
It's more that.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's more that they're selling content. They're selling like cosmetic content,
right?
Or what I like to call. Or I like to call glorified NFTs because they don't really do anything. They're just
right. But isn't that what you want? Would you rather them actually sell a Spider-Man suit that makes Spider-Man swing faster? Wouldn't that actually be pay for power?
No, I mean, if they're gonna go after a model, they could have went after what Bleeding Edge did. They sell the game for pretty much close to cheap, and all the skins and stuff you earn it by winning the games. That was a lot better because at the end of the day, it's something that it makes the developers happy because they get money, and it makes the gamers happy because they don't have to go to a shop and waste their real world money on skins.
But do you?
Like,
why do I like? For example, I don't play a lot of Marvel Rivals, but I play more Fortnite than Marvel Rivals. But why? Do you feel pressured to buy the skins? I've never felt pressured to buy a skin. It doesn't affect gameplay, so I just ignore it.
Not really. Like when I was playing like Overwatch or Apex, I got it free.
Yeah, but you get free stuff in Marvel Rivals too. You can grind for currency. Not for everything, but for a lot of things, you can get outfits and costumes that are free in Marvel Rivals.
Yeah, but they put their best. They lock their best ones behind the paywall. Meaning you
because they want you to pay for something because you're not paying for anything.
Exactly. That's why I like the Bleeding Edge model. When Bleeding Edge came
Bleeding Edge is out of business. Marvel Rivals has like 30 million people playing it.
Yeah, but that's the difference. With Bleeding Edge, they gave up and worked on a different game, which didn't do that good.
Right.
But if they actually stayed behind it, it could have been more successful.
Yeah, like, but I mean, look, as a guy who's I've had a free to play that then you had to pay for free hero shooter before with Drawn to Death, and trust me, there's a point of pretty much no return where you've spent all your marketing money, you've got all the PR, and if no one's showing up, continuing, all you're doing is flushing money down the toilet, right? So
No, that's what the animated shorts that EA and Blizzard did with their games. They release all these
okay,
animated shorts on YouTube,
yeah.
and it garnered more interest. Like
And I don't know, Concord did the
before
same, and nobody played Concord. Concord was $40. You didn't have to pay for anything. They released tons of animated shorts, or a lot, for the life of the game, which wasn't very long, and it's still nobody played it. But I hear you. I don't agree with you, but I hear you. What were your other two disappointments 2024?
Really unlikable characters in some of these games, like Stellar Blade. Yeah, I seen Stellar Blade and that other one. Most of these characters are one-dimensional characters. Like in what's the main character in Stellar Blade?
Eve.
Eve.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give her,
or as I like to call her, Eve's vagina, because whenever I can adjust the camera to see Eve's vagina, that's my main character. You get it, Gary Turbo? Do you get it?
That's the problem. That's the problem. Her only character trait is that she's hot. I mean, like with Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can have attractive characters and they can have personalities. Like BJ's daughters. And they had personalities. They're nerds. They didn't have social interactions outside of Grace's daughter. And
Gary, here's what I'll tell you. Usually people tell me that I have the worst takes in video gaming. I think you're giving me a run for my money. I don't know many people who even reference. Yeah, I played Youngblood. I know exactly what you're talking about, by the way, and I didn't have a problem like a lot of people did with that game. But people cite that game as like, oh my God, the girls were so annoying in that game, and it's the biggest misfire of Machine Games' career. And I love that you're bringing it up like that should be the standard bearer for what you're talking about. But again, I'm not mocking you, Gary, because I liked it as well. I thought characters were cool, but you do know that so many people hated those fucking characters, right?
But the thing was, like, they actually had personalities and they're attractive.
They are.
Like for example, with Apex, the character I loved was Lifeline, because yeah, she's attractive, but you get to see how a good person she is and how terrible her parents are.
Fair.
That's called.
All right, so you were disappointed in characters this year. You felt there was too many one-dimensional characters. I mean, that's what a lot of these gamers want, though. They would push back and say, you know, that's what we need, Gary Turbo. We need some characters that aren't pontificating about the meaning of life and man's place in the universe. We just want some simple, hot chick characters like we had back in the day.
Like look at Ellie from Borderlands. She's like incredibly fat, not attractive at all, but everyone likes her.
Right.
I mean, you had like Mad Maggie from Apex. She's not attractive, but people liked her. People liked her.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. What was your number 3 biggest disappointment? So far we've got characters you didn't vibe with, the free-to-play model, especially as it infuses itself into Marvel Rivals. Your Gary Turbo's number 3rd biggest gaming disappointment.
Third one, I would say AAA is basically losing a lot of their customers to indie developers.
Okay. Like, is that a good thing or a bad thing, though?
No, it's a bad thing. It shows that people rather pay for cheaper games with a lot of work in it than expensive games that are like $100 with trash writing and poorly done animation. Like, for example,
hang on though. I got to push back on this. What indie game did you play this year that has bad animation and trash writing that you're talking about?
No, I'm not talking about indie games. AAA.
Okay, but then so the issue is more you think the quality of AAA games has dropped, not that the fact that people are running to indie games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
I didn't spend 1 cent on Mortal Kombat 1 or Suicide
Gotcha.
Squad. Suicide Squad was so bad. Like
I
the
didn't
story, everything.
I didn't think
It was
so, but a
so
lot of people did, Gary. A lot of
no,
people hated it.
it was so bad
Yeah.
that it inspired me to make a much better version of the game without even having to use DC characters.
Is it out yet? When's it coming out?
Oh, right after Miss Fury.
Right after what?
But yeah, after Miss Fury, I'm gonna make that. But
When's that coming out?
Oh, it should be out in January.
Shit. Okay. Send me a link. I want to play it on the stream. All right, Gary. Well, look, thank you for calling. Thank you for sharing. Let us know when Miss Fury's out. I'd love to see it. Have a great New Year, buddy. Thank you, sir.
All right.
There he goes, fellas, off into the evening. Embers Arcade, we will bring on in one moment. Suicide Squad sold a lot. It didn't. PK99, I agree. Suicide Squad wasn't that bad. People just thought it was woke, even though it wasn't. Yeah. It was fun. It was a fun game. I don't know, man. But I think that goes back to what Plazukas was talking about, which is just like, was it the best game of the year? No, but it was a lot of fucking fun. Dan agrees. He says, I enjoyed Suicide Squad overall. It had some problems, but overall it was fun. Yeah. All right, Embers, go. What's up?
Tell me, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. My first big gaming disappointment was Gary's call-in. He is so full of shit. I can't believe how full of shit that man is.
Full of shit. Aren't you all Christian-y and religious?
Yeah, I am.
Aren't you supposed to not judge people?
I'm not judging him. I'm not judging his soul. I'm saying he's full of shit.
That's a judgment. That's a negative judgment about our good friend Gary Turbo.
Jaffe, we don't have to get into this, but the judgment is talking about the part at the end where you have to go to the afterlife, right?
No, because it says judge not, lest ye be judged. Well, it's not in the afterlife you judge people. That's only for the superhero angels. Anyway, the point is, Ember.
Let's not have the nihilist.
Give me your other disappointments in gaming 2024.
No, I have three actual ones.
Go.
So the first one is no Silksong release date. What the hell is going on with Team Cherry?
Ask yourself, tell me, what do you think? How long ago was that announced? Is like 10 years now? Is that crazy for me to say 10 years? It's not that long.
I think they announced it in Hollow Knight released in 2017. I believe they announced the DLC in 2018, and then they later announced that it was going to become a full sequel, and it still has no release date. So,
and what are the reasons they're saying for it?
I think that they've only spoken once about it, and that it was I think they said something about not having a lot of people on board, having some creative differences with people that they brought on, contractors. I don't know. I have no clue. It's Look, as far as I'm concerned, it's all bullshit.
Well, it might. I mean, success is really fucking scary sometimes because you don't always know how you got there. And then you've got all these people telling you, oh my God, Hollow Knight is the best game ever. It changed my life. It did this, it did that. And if you're not really equipped to sort of understand where that's coming from, I could very easily see you getting like analysis paralysis if you're leading a team like that. And you're just like, this is what they love. No, this is what they love. Oh, we have to give them this. I could see that thing never coming out because of that. But okay, that's a good disappointment. I rarely agree with you on things, but that I'll give you. Absolutely. What's your second one?
Number 2 is going to be the reveal of Intergalactic. I can't believe that is what Naughty Dog has been working on all this time. That sucked. It looks terrible. It has no riz. It has no juice. It is this weird thing where they're trying so hard to be stylish and 80s and retro and neon, but then the character models look like the way that Naughty Dog character models do, which is just like office workers and normal people. And just, I think it's such a weird looking thing. I'm sure it's going to be great, but it looks bad. And I think the reveal was really disappointing.
I thought the reveal of that game was disappointing until I watched it a second time. And now I'm actually exceptionally excited for that game. But I would agree
I've seen it like 7 times. I did a whole video about it on my channel, and so I had to really study it. And I think that the detail they put into the cinematic is great, but it's not just
you're dropping out. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games.
Can you hear me?
Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games. Ember, you're starting to sound like Joshua from War Games Say something.
Hello?
No, call right back. I'll put you back on. What I will say about that, yeah, Ember, just hang up and then click the link again, because I think you just need to reset it. You know, what I found wonderful about the trailer when I watched it a second time, and Johnny Utah says, I think it looks great. I don't get the hate, right? I don't either. I mean, the first time I watched the trailer, it was like, fine, okay, whatever. But honestly, when you if all you want to take from that game is the beginning of that trailer starts with a very action-packed anime running on her TV screen, which is a woman with a gun and a melee weapon fighting robots. I believe they're robots. And the end of the trailer is a woman with a weapon, a melee weapon, and she has guns fighting robots. The only difference is photoreal versus anime art style. So to me, when you look at if nothing else, just that, forget the performances, forget the fact that it's Naughty Dog. And if you look at Naughty Dog shooting in The Last of Us 2, it's pretty much some of the best AI out there. The pedigree of the team, getting a great sci-fi adventure at a $400 million budget. If you just look at the fact that it looks like it's going to be the guys who did the combat in The Last of Us Part 2 doing Vanquish style melee and gunplay with photoreal environments, I think that's the coolest fucking thing on the planet. So I'm incredibly hyped for that game. But I would agree that the first time you see it, you know, you got to kind of really look at it now. You got to read into it a little bit, is what I would say. I certainly don't think it blows you out of the back of your fucking chair when you first see it. But I think when you go, wait a minute, what is this really going to be about? Or what is this really promising? I think it's pretty cool. So, okay. All right. Well, there we go. That's our first question here on the Gamers Soapbox, or whatever the fuck we're calling this thing. So Relax Bruh says the main character in that trailer, Intergalactic, was uninteresting. The main character was bland. The Guardians of the Galaxy 80s futurist old shtick. For now, it's a no buy. I guarantee you it will be a buy for everybody. It will get great reviews. It will play delightfully. It's going to basically be Naughty Dog stretching, giving you more freedom. And it's going to be insane AAA production value, melee combat, and shooting. In science fiction versus robots. Come on. I'm there. I'm super excited, but we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's go. Let me get Ember's Arcade third. Ember's Arcade. Okay, let's try again. What is your third most disappointing? You didn't like the Intergalactic trailer. Your first one. What was your first one again?
My first one was the Silk Song lack of release date.
Yes, Hollow Knight sequel. What is your third most disappointing part of 2024 as a gamer relates?
Final Fantasy 14 Dawn Trail.
I don't know what that is. What I know nothing about it. What is that?
So Final Fantasy 14 is an MMORPG. It's Square Enix's flagship franchise, obviously, but it's also the thing that makes them the most money as their live service game. It's what's holding that company.
I know
up.
what 14 is, but what's Dawn Trail?
Dawn Trail is the most recent expansion that came out.
Okay.
And this is it'd be really fascinating. I wish more people were familiar with the ecosystem, because it's one of these things where Final Fantasy 14 has been very good for about 10 years, and it's been getting better and better and better. It finished a 10-year story arc in 2021, and so it's trying to establish a new 10-year story arc to carry the game forward. And it really shit the bed, because it has not innovated on its systems, and it gave us a 22-hour cutscene campaign with about 2 hours of gameplay. It was abysmal. And it's one of those things that, because it's an MMO and it's so disconnected from the broader gaming discourse, that people aren't going to know about how bad that is unless you're really in there.
Okay, but if you're saying that 14 is their flagship that's holding up the company, I assume, are you in the minority, or most of the fans of 14 looked at it and said this is a disappointment?
I would invite you to go to 14's Steam page and
I have no interest in doing that at all. I'd rather just ask you and then forget we had the conversation.
Well, it went from overwhelmingly positive or generally positive to mostly negative with the release of that expansion.
Because of the reason that you're saying. Okay, so that does sound that does sound terrible. Then I'm glad I don't play it. I would be very disappointed. Why do you think they did that? I mean, do you think they just misread their audience and they thought the audience wanted a fucking 14-hour movie?
I think it's a like a corporate logistical thing. The people that were writing and managing the localization of the game over the last 10 years, I think were what's the word? They were promoted out of the positions that they were in and are leading teams, and then junior people stepped up into their roles and gave it a shot. And the guy that wrote the main story quest for this current expansion wrote like some of the worst stuff that we had in the past, and he's obviously
Okay.
not up to the task. And it's like that's not a risk you want to take with like the only live service thing that you have that works, Square Enix. But they did, and it's not. I don't think it's doing very well. So that's one of the biggest disappointments that's ever happened in my life. I hated it. I went from loving 14 to like hating it. So that's a big one.
Have they said anything about maybe trying to turn the ship around, or have they even acknowledged that the fans are unhappy?
Yes, but I mean they've done it in a very political way. They don't want to acknowledge. I mean, one of the big things is that there's a very it's a very political issue. The main character that they introduced in the story is a character named Wook Lamont. She's like an anthropomorphic cat, and she's voiced in the U.S. In the West, she's voiced by a trans woman, which became like a bit of a political issue. And so
What's political about it? Does she mean like the character like is in politics?
The performance is very poor. That so much so that they've done re-recordings of some of her most pivotal lines. So the performance is very bad, and any criticisms of the performance became obfuscated by the fact that the person voicing Wook Lamont is a trans person. And so it became very difficult to have the conversation. It's like, look, we're not attacking Senna Breyer. The performance is not good, and it's not an opinion. They went and re-recorded like pivotal lines because of how bad that they were when they released. That it is absolutely an issue of merit and performance.
So, are you going to
writing.
move on from it and find another MMO to play, or no?
Well, I already have. I've since I'm unsubscribed. I have to vote with my wallet here. And on my YouTube channel, I covered MMORPGs extensively, so I play a lot of them. So it's not a problem. But it's one of those things.
You have a YouTube channel? You haven't mentioned that at least in the last 3 minutes. Where can people find you, Embers Arcade? Should they just look up Embers Arcade?
They should just look up Embers Arcade. Well, because I wanted to talk to you, Jeff. I didn't want to try to use your platform as like a way to advertise myself.
I don't mind. All right, Ember. Cool. Thank you, buddy, for calling. And we're going to go to the next topic. Thanks, man. Colin, if you got something to say on that. All right, here we go. Tyler, though, says it's kind of hard talking about Intergalactic that Ember brought up to judge a cinematic trailer that showed nothing in actual action. Absolutely. I'm extrapolating, but I think because Naughty Dog is such a consistent quality team as it relates to just their execution, I think if they're going to show you action and imply that there's going to be action in this game, and they've already done really satisfying, certainly projectile action. Melee is a little new for them, at least in the last 10 years, other than a punch or a swinging a pipe at a clicker. I'm willing to sort of extrapolate and sort of think ahead of what it could be just because of their pedigree. But yeah, I mean that's why. Okay. Let's move forward. Intergalactic is Suicide Squad for Naughty Dog, says Lammy. I mean, wait and see. But again, I mean, Suicide Squad is not a bad game. It had I'm sorry, it just is not a bad game. Most people haven't played it. Play it, give it a shot, see what you think. But all right, let's move on to the second topic of the show. The second topic is this. I want to propose a scenario, and I want to get your thoughts. I'll share mine first. So here's the idea. You got $500 million. You can give a 1-sentence pitch, and after you give the pitch to a specific developer for it's got to be a single player game. You have no more interference. You can't put your own people on it. You can't play builds. You can't give notes. It's like, I want to make this. Here's your bucket of money. I'll see you in 4 or 5 years. $500 million doesn't include marketing. And you have one goal and then another goal, not together. But goal number one is, what would your 1-sentence pitch be? Don't give away like a fresh IP, but what kind of game and who would you ask to make it that would make the most money? And then what kind of game and who would you ask to make it if it was more of a dream game scenario, right? That's the question. Question number 2. Okay. So I will tell you my answers, or how I chose to answer this question. And then Lammy says 500 million. Yeah, 500 million. because that's basically where we're at now. At least if you listen to Sean Layden, if other than GTA, which is probably a little more, the average AAA game, top of the line AAA game, which is what I want you to imagine, is like 280 to 375, and it's going to just keep going up for a while. That's what we're being told, and it makes sense. It tracks. Okay. It's a huge budget, but that's what you can expect Intergalactic to have. That's what you can expect the next God of War to have. Okay, so here mine. If my number one goal was money, and a big return on my investment, but it's got to be a single player game. And whether it has DLC or whatever, I don't give a shit. That's not the point. I don't want you to look at it like that. I want you to look at it more at a creative level. My money would be basically giving the money to Rocksteady and saying, make GTA Batman. And I know we've had open world Gotham before, but I would want it to be much more of a very large open world, maybe gets outside Gotham, be able, if you look at like the Arkham stuff, the Arkham City or whatever it was, it's still pretty small and you could drive around, but I'm talking like a big open world Rockstar or style environment in the DC universe, primarily Gotham, but you can go to other places. And it's basically Batman from Rocksteady. I would say, here's your bucket of money. I would literally put it in a bucket. I would say, go with God. I'll see you in 5 years. Let's make a lot of money. And I'd also very, very much want to play the game. If my goal was art, or like, what do I want to do at a dream game or something that I just think would be cool, I would go to Kojima. And by the way, Suicide Squad, I'm talking the classic the classic Rocksteady team. The key guys have left. I'm talking like the team we all know and love. I'm not saying who remains, just so we're clear. Turtle Rabbit said he would make a cheap card game and launder the rest. I mean, yeah, if money is your main goal, maybe you go to PlayStation and say, here, I'll fund you your version of Hearthstone meets Marvel Snap with PlayStation characters. It'll cost like $6 million to make, and I'm just gonna, but that you can't do that. You can. I don't give a shit. Okay, for the art of the deal, I would basically say I would go to Kojima, who I think loves to smell his own farts, but I would say, look, here's what I want. I don't care how you do it. And assuming he would be passionate about the subject as well, because obviously if he's not, you can't really, but this is a fantasy. It's hypothetical. I'd go to Kojima and I would say, look, man, here's $500 million. I want you to make a video game however you want to make it. You're going to get no notes from me, but what I want it to do is communicate through the gameplay the value of people being media literate, and the rest, go with God, do your thing, right? So Kojima making a media literacy game, and then Rocksteady making GTA Batman. That would be my spend of $500 million. Okay. Let us see what you guys think. Let's bring on Gek. Gek is here in the chat. Hello, sir. How you doing?
Okay. What was the question again?
Well said, Gek. I come to you. I give you a bucket of money, $500 million. You can pick any developer and any one sentence idea for a single player game. Who's the developer? What's the one sentence idea? Don't give me a pie in the sky design you have. I just like, a high level thing just to get the idea what you're talking about. And your number one goal is to make a lot of money back. What would it be?
Okay, for dev, Nintendo.
Well, Nintendo has a lot of devs. Which team? What have they done? Like which?
I think I would pick some of the RPG devs or like the Zelda devs.
Okay, so the Zelda, like the Breath of the Wild devs, or the Echoes of Wisdom devs, like 2D or 3D Zelda.
2D. I would also go for like the Earthbound devs, but like I don't know.
Okay, but like an RPG 2D 2.5D dev from Nintendo would be your dev. Yeah. And your goal is to make a lot of money. What would you ask them to make?
I have the idea for a game starring a dragon prince.
Okay, but you can say one sentence to them. You would just say, make a game with a dragon prince? and then walk
Yeah.
away?
Yeah.
So you don't care what they do as long as there's a Dragon Prince and a 2.5D RPG.
I guess I
that
would
you
like.
think would make the most money. That would be your investment.
Yeah.
You're not very good with money, huh?
Look,
Not
I'm
so
kind
good
of
with
like
money.
I'm sort of young and naive, so
Not so
yeah.
good with the money, buddy. I mean, because that one would make sense to me if you were doing it for the art. Like if you're like, dude, this is my dream game, that I get. I would say, yeah, absolutely. You want to make a 2.5 RPG with this great team that's done great RPGs, and you want it to be about a Dragon Prince. Go. I get that. But you're saying if your goal was to, like, if you had a family and you got to take care of the kids and college and all that, and you have 500 million to invest, that would be your investment for what you think will make a big return on your investment?
Well, I think my investment would be like I wanted to be like a kid RPG in the style of like, you know, the Mario Luigi game, Pokemon.
Yeah, but you got one sentence for these guys. You're
Yeah,
not on the
yeah.
team. You're not designing it. You're not writing it. You're not doing anything. You drop off the bucket and you come back in 5 years with your game. That's it. But you want to hold to that.
Yes.
Okay. So what about the art form? If that's how you're going to make your money back, 500 million, what do you want to do as your dream game then? Who's the developer? What's the one sentence?
I guess like I would go with Square Enix.
Okay. And what would they do? What would their one sentence be?
I would like to make a game starring child protagonists.
A child protagonist.
Yeah.
Like, give me an example. Like who?
Like I said, like, you know, I'm a big fan of Earthbound.
Okay.
And I want to like do something. I want to do something like that, but more like an RPG element. Like have one of them like be like, you know, a warrior class or a mage.
I tell you what, man, if I had 500 million and I could go to Square Enix, I would say, you know what you guys just did with Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake? Do that with Chrono Trigger. That's what I would say. I would love the fuck out of that game, Gek. I would make a baby with that game.
Yeah, I fucking love Chrono Trigger too.
You're goddamn right, Gek. You and me, baby. All right, Gek. Thank you for your call. I appreciate it, buddy. Thanks, man.
Yeah, bye.
All right. Let's get Anthony right in here. Anthony, you got 500 million bucks, a bucket of money, and you're going to a video game developer of your choice with one sentence, and your goal is to make a lot of money back. What are you going to do? Anthony. Good sir, Anthony. Okay, while we're waiting for Anthony, let me read the chat, see what you guys have. One guy says, let me find out where that went. AAA Pokemon open world RPG. That's a pretty good idea. Relax, bruh. Says 99% chance you make your money back on the first day. Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Okay. This guy says, Tyler says Kojima, a pig wrestling game that is also a dating game. He could probably do something interesting with it. Awesome Tatum says, Jaffe, I want a Big Trouble in Little China game. I don't think it would make any fucking money, but I think if that was your art game, yeah, absolutely. Movie Maniac says, do Wing Commander, bring Mark Hamill back and made by the people who made the last Ace Combat. I think that would be really cool. I'm into that one. I don't know if it would make a lot of money, but I don't give a shit. Thanato says, I'm trying to figure out how to call. You were just in. I was about to bring you on, buddy. Bring Andy Gavin and Jason Rubin back to Naughty Dog and kick out Druckmann. Yeah, but I need a line. I need a sentence you got to get them back with, you know? Okay. Where did it go? A goon game where dragons fuck chicks, says Lammy. I'm sure that already exists all over Steam. Okay. Here, a heavy metal, the game by Rockstar. Yeah, I'd fucking play that. Would you have it be all 4 stories? If you don't know what he's talking about, there's a movie called Heavy Metal based on the comics, but there's like 4 or 5. It's like an anthology of different stories. So, but you know, I like the Pokemon one so far the most. Listen to this. This is from Bitrate. FromSoft. He would go to FromSoft with his bucket of ducats and say, I want a mix of Demon Souls world, Breath of Fire, Breath of the Wild crafting, Baldur's Gate 3 writing with the ability to play with up to 2 other players or NPCs. Okay. So you basically just want him to make a really big, expanded, kind of the biggest RPG ever. Okay. Dan says my dream game would not make money. I know that. So this is the second one. This is the art one, but I want a dungeon crawl game in VR with turn-based Darkest Dungeon style combat that can be pulled out to view in third person, and you want it done by In Exile. You don't need 500 million for that, but that sounds fun. That sounds really, really fun. I grabbed From Software, says Lutron, by the scruff. And that's a good point, though. I don't. Is this for money or art, though? And have us all a sweet Bloodborne 2 supervised by Bluepoint for the technical shit, easy money. So you think it would be easy money? It probably would. I don't know if you'd make your money back if you spent 500 million on it. But you know, that'd be pretty cool. Jaffe's always rubbing and wiping his nose. Yeah, because my beard is itchy. Try one more time, Thanatos. I had you in earlier. All right, Plazukas, what's your dream game? 500 million. What are you going to?
All right. So, well, I can say who I'm going to. I'm going to Bungie, and what I'm going to do is have them take what they've already done with Destiny 1 and 2, and I'm going to have them expand upon that. Obviously, make it single player, make it open world, make it so that you can fly to each of the locations that Destiny already has in their universe, and make it more mechanically driven. Obviously, a single player is not going to be multiplayer, so that aspect of it is going to be very appealing to a lot of people because there's not going to be, fear of missing out on microtransactions.
Just so I'm following you, a $500 million single player game from Bungie set in the Destiny world. So far, that's what you're saying, correct?
That is all I'm saying. I think that's a guaranteed double your money. Yeah.
As a guy who only played the beta of Destiny 1 and peeled off, do you actually think at a mainstream level their world building and lore building of Destiny is enough to get a lot of people engaged that would never have played it with the multiplayer?
I think if they were to focus on story specifically, because a lot of it's thematic in Destiny, I think because of the characters they've already introduced in the game, not in the later half, but in the beginning, absolutely. I think that sci-fi world is very appealing. They have the Halo, history behind them. They have a pedigree, and they've not really focused on single player anything in a very long time. So that would require them to really go story focused first, and they've already got the first.
This is the one that you think would make a lot of money. So you give them 500 million.
Well, you're talking 500 million. I have to go with a semi-strong IP that has not been talked about already, and that's one of the IPs that I would leverage 500 million with.
It doesn't have to
that's
be
an insane
strong IP. It could just be so fucking cool. Like, for example, if you went to the Destiny guys and basically said everything that you just said, but then you also said, I want you to hire, Dave Filoni or whatever, one of the few guys people think still knows what they're doing at LucasArts, and he gets to write the story. I mean, that would still be a good investment, don't you think?
I mean, no, not personally. First of all, I'm not giving anybody $500 million right now to develop a game.
When you're playing my game. This is the
scenario. I know that. That's why I'm playing by your rules, and that's what I would pitch.
Okay, so
if I had that kind of money.
Okay, and then what would your dream game be for 500 million? What developer? What's the one line
for 500 million?
Yeah.
Oh, my dream game would not be single player; it would be a multiplayer game because I believe that's where that kind of money would for the art as well. I want a game where sacrifice and like game experience and choices really do matter. That's where I would invest that in, but I don't know.
But why would that have to be multiplayer? I mean, when you have a better
because chance? I want that shared universe feeling towards it, to where everybody is affected by each and every body's actions. But that's an insane amount of maybe with AI that's possible, so hopefully someday we'll get that.
Right. So if I'm trying to go on a quest and then your character blows up a dam and it floods that quest area, then I have to figure out how to solve it
exactly
by swimming underwater.
Yeah, and then you have companions that actually die and you have to feel that loss. It's very depressing, not very fun. It's not going to make its money, but it's going to be a very arty
It's
farty
just
kind
like
of
you're
game.
basically remaking real life. I understand. All right, Plazukas, thank you, buddy.
Yeah.
There he goes, fellas. All right, I like that idea. It's interesting. All right, Movie Maniac says an official Berserk game for kids of the 80s. He doesn't mean the Atari game from Funsoft. That would make a lot of money. I like this one. This is coming from Johnny Utah. The Punisher, very dark and adult and a Max Payne style game. Give it to idsoft. I would be there in a heartbeat. That would be fucking fantastic. Chris Bryan. Oh my God, man. I agree, but nobody would buy it really, probably, but I don't give a fuck if it's for the art. Open world Dukes of Hazzard, Smokey and the Bandit made by Rockstar. I mean, Rockstar, I guess they could learn to love the deep South idiocy of the 70s. I fucking love both those brands. So yeah, I'm in. I'm fucking in. Death Race 2000 says Zeke 2000 retro art style vehicle and hand-to-hand combat. Have Criterion do it. That's pretty cool. MX says a sandbox game with fully interactive NPCs and advanced AI. I think we're getting there. Man. It won't take that long. Okay. Lammy Kravitz says Superman, Easy Billions by Insomniac, Jaffe. I mean, I don't know about that though. I would push back on the Superman thing. I love Superman. He's my favorite superhero. But I would say about Superman is if you actually kind of look at the powers, he really isn't that interesting of a superhero. Like everybody else is already doing mostly more interesting things than he can do. He's strong. Check. We've got that all day long. He can fly, big deal. Lots of characters in video games can fly. He can shoot things out of his eyes and his mouth that are weapons. So what? Right? It's not like, what about Superman? Not as a human, not as a character, an alien, whatever the fuck you want to call him. I love the character, but at a mechanics level, I don't think he's that interesting, really, in terms of like, what does he get to do in the game that I haven't done before? I think it would be more interesting to play mechanically Iron Man than Superman, just because you've got all the gadgets and you can tune them and tweak them and add parts to his armor that might cause him not to fly as fast, all the armored core shit, but with Iron Man. Okay. That's good too, Matt DeMarco. My dream game would be Shadowrun made by Cyberpunk team. I hear you. I mean, they've kind of already made that. I don't know really much of the distinction between Shadowrun and Cyberpunk enough that it would matter, but yeah, I think that's pretty fucking cool. Okay, let's do the final question of the day, my friends. Now, this one is, I don't know. I will bury the lead here, and I will tell you that this one, I'm just going to say yes. My answer is yes, which is this. Here's the question. Would you prefer that most, not all, you can still get your epic Metaphor, Reef Fantasio, 180 hour, blah, blah, blah. But most single player games be 4 to 5 hours and cost $20. Why or why not? Let me read that again. Would you prefer that most, like the standard, most people who sit down and make a single player game, it's 4 to 5 hours. It'll cost you pretty much a little bit more than one movie ticket, which you're only going to get a 100-minute experience. Here, you're going to be getting a 300-minute experience and you'll own it. And you can play it over and over and over, right? My answer is fuck yes. And here's why. Most video games wear out their welcome. Single player games wear out their welcome within that time. And then at that point, at least in my opinion, what the game ends up being is stuff that you're sort of doing things in your fucking head, right? It's like, at that point, it's like you're watching movies that are okay and you're doing it just so you can punch a card and go, if you watch 50 movies, you can unlock the cool costume, right? That's basically, it's the grind, it's the repetition, and they have to build just enough content to keep you engaged enough that you don't recognize that they're feeding you the same slop over and over and over and over again. But if you were to say $20, 3 to 4 hours, you know how many games you would finish? 4 to 5 hours. You know how many games you would finish? The medium would have to explode in quality and explode in ideas about what games are about, because people would get sick of the same kind of story or the same kind of place to explore. So people would start to do more interesting things in the medium in single player. And it's definitely not, you know, all walking simulator. It would be, you could still have action, you could still have platformers, you could still have all that shit. PG says, I mean, some people could beat Resident Evil in 8 hours, and those used to cost $40 to $50. I understand. I'm talking simply about if you could snap your fingers, these are hypotheticals, and turn that into the standard of single player games. I'm not saying you can't jump to something and say, oh, well, this is an example of that. Yeah, I get it. And there are games online. While We Wait Here is actually costs $4 and it's 4 hours. Among Ashes, one of the best horror games of the year, I think that was like $15 and that's like 4.5 hours. Yeah, but see, Marcusor says we already got that. PSN sales have all that junk. The fact that you're calling it junk suggests to me that you're missing my point. I wouldn't think of it as junk. I would think of it as like, if you look at Intergalactic, right? If Intergalactic came out and it was a 4.5 hour game for most people, I would love the shit out of that. I don't need, if it was $20, I don't want it to be 150 hours. I'm not saying we don't want any big epic games. Maybe that would be one of them per year from that publisher. But, you know, look, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is one of my favorite games, maybe my game of the year. But by the time I got to Egypt, and certainly by the time I got to Siam, as much as those levels have amazing stuff, and I'm glad they're there, you could start to feel, okay, this is the loop, this is what we're doing. And it started to feel less like an immersive experience and more like, okay, it's a little bit of a job. I want to see the end, so I'm going to do this, but I get it. I get what this is. Okay, I'm going to go to you guys, though. That's my take. Michael says, I played Star Wars Outlaws recently. It was full of nonsense side quest. Ruined it for me. I would pay more than $20 too. I loved Outlaws, but I hear you. I just played House of Ashes last night. It was about 5 hours long and really good. I recommend it to everyone, even Jaffe. What is House of Ashes? I don't even know if I know Among Ashes. Let me see what that is real quick. House of Ashes game. Oh, from Dark Pictures. House of Ashes. I know a lot of theirs. I played a couple of them. Is that the one that's set in Iraq? I heard that was pretty good, actually. I want to play that. Okay. Arathizel says 4 to 5 hours. A game engine is not worth that. The best games need investment by the player. Music, character, environment, exploration. Okay. I don't agree. But I hear you. I would pay more than $20, says Utah. I think most being 10 to 15 hours during the PS3 days is ideal for 50 or 60. Tyler says story-wise, 4 to 5 hours is good. Game content, multiple endings could extend that by replay value. Okay, let's bring in Luca. Luca, what do you think of this? What do you think? 4 to 5 hours and $20. Why or why not for the standard single-player game? Luca, are you there? Arathizel says the investment matters. If you aren't willing to invest more than 4 to 5 hours in something, it is junk. No, it's not. That's a ridiculous. So are you telling me if a movie is only 95 minutes long, it's junk? What? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you say that? There's a lot of things that aren't junk, that aren't long. Long doesn't equate to a great experience, does it? Luca, what do you think? All right, I'm going to bring in Alex. Luca, for some reason, maybe you're muted or something. I see you there. Maybe you're just not talking. I'll try to bring you in a second. Alex, it's Jaffe. What do you think?
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. We agree on something. Excellent. Tell me why.
Because look, Spider-Man is on PS Plus Extra, right? I never played the game, Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
And they let you play the game for I don't know how long, but it's worth trying before you buy it, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and every game is like that, but why not? You know, you have nothing to lose. If you play the game, you don't like it, don't buy it. That's what the PlayStation wants you to play the game, so they can, you know, make you think why not buy the game? We're providing.
Okay, but wait a minute though. You're talking just about the value of their trial system. I agree, it's great. I love it. It's one of my favorite parts of PS Plus. But I'm saying, if the vast majority of single player games started being from start to finish 4 to 5 hours, and they cost $20 instead of $70, would you like that or not?
Wait. So I'm not getting the whole game?
The whole game is 4 to 5 hours. It's designed to be 4 to 5 hours.
No, Jeffy, I disagree. That then it's what do you mean? How much am I paying? $20?
$20 for 4 to 5 hours. You ever go to a movie? You go to movies all the time. It costs you how much to get a ticket?
Yeah, but wow, that's a great question. I never thought about that. But wait, it depends on the game, right?
Well, I'm not saying there can't be long games. Of course there would be long games. I'm saying that the standard single player game, though, the average single player game would be a 4 to 5 hour experience for most people, and it would cost you $20. You would own it. You could play it as many times as you want.
Yes, but it cannot be a AAA.
Why not?
AAA 4 or 5 hours. Come on, Jeffy. You can't put a AAA in 4 or 5 hours.
Why? Why can't Neil Druckmann go off and make it? Why can't Neil Druckmann go off and make Intergalactic from start to finish designed to be a 4 to 5 hour game and charge $20 for it? What do you mean you can't do it? Of course you can do it.
Yes, but look, Jeffy, is it worth it? You're gonna put a lot of money into the company. You're gonna make a big game. You're gonna spend millions for what? 4 hours?
I'm talking. Well, again, I mean that's like saying why would you make a 2 hour movie? I mean, assuming the business model would sustain it, you'd get more games being made. You'd get more interesting ideas and more variety in the market because there would have to be different things because there's so many more games coming out in single player. Assuming the business could make it work, I'm asking you as a player, would you like it or not?
I would like it, but a lot of people would not because
I don't care about that. I'm asking you, Alex. So you would like it.
Astrobot. If it was 4 hours, you think people would not be disappointed? They gotta throw the controller off the window. They say, "What the fuck is?"
Why would you be disappointed if you knew it was meant to be a 4 hour game or a 5 hour game and it cost you $20 and the price was appropriate for that?
Because people get angry. They want a full game. They want a big game. They're willing to pay. They're willing to pay.
I'm not okay. Where are you? Okay, I get you. The hypothetical is lost on you, sir. It's always good to talk to you, Alex. Do you have a good Christmas?
Thank you. Jeffy, what about the previous question? Can I answer that one?
Yeah, real quick. Go. Previous question. What developer would you give $500,000 to, give him one sentence and walk away?
A Diablo type of game, because I think I like a game, with loot and all that stuff, and that has a progression, and it doesn't end, there's always something.
Okay, so who would you give that money to?
Blizzard. I would give Blizzard that money because I want.
So you would basically say, as an investment, you would go to the Diablo team, say, "I'm going to give you guys $500,000,000. Go do what you already did for Blizzard, but do it for me."
Do it for me. Do it. Recreate Diablo. Make it Diablo 5. I don't care, but something special, because they have the talent. They have the team. Why not? It's already there.
Fair enough. All right. See you, buddy.
All right.
All right. Let's see if Luca got this figured out. Luca, are you there? Luca. Nope. All right. Billy Baguette. What's going on, bud? Billy Baguette. Are you there, Billy? Billy. All right. Billy and Luca, you're on if you want to talk. Okay. Jaffe, my concern, says Lewis, is why is it a $20 game design wise, art direction wise? What kind of game is it? Again, just take Interstellar or Intergalactic. Sorry. Assume it's Intergalactic, which is what you already know. It's a melee based game. It's AAA. It's space. It's projectile based. There's some story about this woman who goes down to a planet to stop this guy, and shit happens. And in 4 and 5 hours, you played it. You're done. I don't understand. I mean, you gotta rethink how you perceive AAA, but I mean, it's a hypothetical, and why not? All right, Billy, are you there?
Yo, can you hear me?
Yep. What's going on?
Hey, nothing much, man. Hey, I just joined on, so I'm not quite sure what the questions were. I've just always wanted to ask you.
Yes.
When I was a kid, I got a Nintendo 64 for Christmas with
That
a
must have been
copy of.
exciting.
It was. I got a copy of Vigilante 8.
Yep.
I was wondering if you ever played it and what you thought of it. I don't know. Did that come before Twisted Metal or after? And what your thoughts were on it?
It came after, but okay. So we did Twisted Metal in 1995. I'm almost certain a game called Interstate 76, which was kind of more of an open world car combat game. Might have come out for PC earlier, but certainly though Vigilante 8 was inspired by, because it was in the same universe as I-78 or whatever it was called, inspired by the gameplay of Twisted Metal. I played it. I thought the graphics were great. I thought some of the level designs were great. I did not like the gameplay so much. I thought the cars controlled too much like cars. I thought it wasn't arcadey enough to be as fast and zippy. I think they were probably a little bit too focused on real physics. So things like, so much of car combat is like constantly looping around your enemy to reacquire the target. But when you actually have a real car, every time you loop around, you slow down and you have this acceleration that you have to wait to get back up to speed. And besides that, and flipping the car over, both of those kind of real world things, along with not being able to rotate your car in air to acquire a target, I think ended up making them drive more like cars, but I don't think it was as fun as Twisted Metal because of that.
Okay, right on, man. I appreciate your input on that.
Yeah.
It blew my mind as like an 8-year-old.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And
hell yeah. It was a beautiful, beautiful game. Very well made game.
I got a PS1 later on, and no, PS2. I got Twisted Metal Black when I was like a little older, and it was like, oh man, it made me feel like an adult compared to compared to Vigilante 8. Well, I appreciate the input, man.
Absolutely.
I
Thanks
love
for
you on
watching.
Last Stand, and miss seeing you on there.
All right. Well, I'll be back when they have me, and in the meantime, come back here whenever you want. We'll be here. Thanks, buddy.
Groovy, man. Bye.
All right. All right. Let's try Luke one more time. Luke, is it working for you, bud? Yeah, it's almost like you come in, we see. Oh, hang on. Maybe it's me. Try now. No, that's Billy. Hang on. Luca. Yeah, it's almost like you come in and your mic comes on and then it turns off. I don't know why. If I were you, I would go, if you're on Windows, I would go down to your mic settings and right click it and see where it's directing your microphone. I don't know. It's nothing. There's no way I can fix it, Luca. I don't think it's me. He says, I hope Jaffe sees my message, but Vigilante 8 came out in 98. I think so. I think it was out after 2 or so. I don't remember, but it did well. It was a good game. Okay. Hello, Sancho Knows. Yeah, I had a great holiday. Hopefully you did as well. It was fun. A lot of fun. Okay. Well, I think that's going to do it for this first. Whoops, sorry. I think that's going to do it for this first episode of Gamers Soapbox. I think we're going to keep that. I don't know if we're going to keep that title, but you guys let me know if you enjoy this kind of show. If so, I will start slotting it in once or twice a week into the morning show rotation. And then, of course, I will get back in the afternoons to Gabbin' and Games. There may be a Gabbin' and Games later tonight. If there isn't one, there will definitely be back normal schedule tomorrow with either another one of these and a Jaffe stream or and a Gabbin' Games or a Jaffe stream and a Gabbin' Games. But, we'll play it as it goes. Let's see what the chat says. Johnny, thank you. Luca, that would be great. These are a new set of headphones, yes, Zeke, that I ended up getting recommended to me by Gun over on the Discord. And so far, they have been absolutely fantastic. Also, speaking of the Discord or my Twitter or comments here, if you like this format and you like this show, and you have some questions that you feel would be good for one of our 3 questions of this particular show, Gamer Soapbox, let me know what they are, and I will. I'll include them in the show in an upcoming show. So, and yeah, Matthew, I have House of Ashes brought up right here on my computer. I will pick up a copy of it and I will play it. I like. I didn't like Man of Medan, but there were a couple of their dark picture anthology games from Supermassive that I thought were great. So in the meantime, though, if I don't see you tonight on tonight's stream, I'll see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if not, though, still have a great holiday, safe New Year's. And okay, Luca, you think you fixed it? We'll try one more time. Here we go. Luca, did you fix it? Nope. All right. Be well, be safe, and I will see you guys soon. Bye, you guys. Thanks, everyone.